Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Emotional scenes upon landing home for 24 inmates in the biggest prisoner swap in post-Soviet era. US President Joe Biden cocks a snook at Donald Trump, hails Western allies for cooperation. Biden tells Israel's Netanyahu that the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh is not helpful for ceasefire talks. The Hezbollah fires dozens of rockets towards Israel. The US recognizes Nicolas Maduro's opponent Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's disputed presidential election. Brazil, Mexico and Colombia ask for the vote tallies to be made public. And at the Paris Olympics, Dheeraj Bommadevara and Ankita Bhakat of India reached the quarterfinals of the archery mixed team event. Will take on Spain for a semi-final berth. The United States and Russia completed a 24-person prisoner swap on Thursday. It's the largest in post-Soviet history. Moscow released U.S. journalist Ivan Gershkovich and fellow American Paul Whelan in a deal that set some 24 people free.
On a warm, steamy night, the freed Americans lingered on the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews to soak up the moment of their return to US. In a poignant display of emotion, tears of joy, US President Joe Biden, along with Vice President Kamala Harris, greeted the three American nationals released by Russia in a historic prisoner swap deal. The United States and Russia completed a 24-person prisoner swap on Thursday, the largest in post-Soviet history. West, including the US, released 16 Russian nationals, while Russia released 8 people. Biden termed it as a new feat of diplomacy, while Vice President Kamala Harris called the deal an extraordinary testament.
My job is to make sure, number one, they don't get them, and if they do, we get them back. I don't buy this idea that you're going to let these people rot in jail because other people may be captured. We will set out all the notifications to all the other countries, all our citizens, what countries not to go to, what to do, what not to do, and they got to pay attention. I got more work to do.
I'm very thankful for our president and what he has done over his entire career, but in particular as it relates to these families and these individuals, what he has been able to do to bring the allies together on many issues, but in particular this one. This is just an extraordinary testament.
High-level negotiations involved European allies and significant concessions, including resulting in the release of Russian assassin Vadim Krasikov by Germany.
I spoke to President Biden on the phone, who is very thankful for the cooperation of our two countries in this important matter. For the United States, it was especially important to see Wall Street Journal journalist Ivan Gershkovich and ex-Marine Paul Whelan in freedom, in close and trusting cooperation with the United States and European partners. After months of confidential talks with the Russian side, it was now possible to release 15 people who were illegally held as political prisoners in Russia.
On the other side, Russian President Putin also met the returnees as they arrived.
I want to congratulate you all on your return to your homeland. Now, I want to address those of you who are directly involved in military service. I want to thank you for your loyalty to the oath, to your duty and your homeland, which has never forgotten you for a minute. And now you are home. All of you will be nominated for state awards.
Among the prisoners released by Russia, 3 are the US citizens. US journalist Evan Gershkovich was sentenced to 16 years after being convicted on espionage charges. The Wall Street Journal reporter was first arrested last March while on a reporting trip in the city of Yekaterinburg, 1,000 miles east of Moscow. Paul Whelan was given a 16-year jail sentence in 2020 after being arrested in Moscow on suspicion of spying in 2018. The ex-US Marine is a citizen of 4 countries: the US, Canada, the UK and Ireland. Russian-American journalist Alzu Kurmasheva was sentenced to 6.5 years in a medium security prison after a secret trial. She was an editor for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty, which is funded by the US government, and was convicted of spreading false information about the Russian military. The historic largest prisoner exchange between Russia and the West in decades could help US President Joe Biden burnish his foreign policy legacy in his waning months in office and boost Vice President Kamala Harris in her bid for the White House. Trump, however, was quick to question the deal and alleged that it involved exchange of money, a charge that White House subsequently denied. DD India reports.
Russia's aviation units conducted patrols with dummy munition as part of a nuclear drill. Russia's defense ministry said its aviation units practiced installing dummy warheads on launch vehicles as part of the 3rd stage of tactical nuclear weapons exercise. The exercise was ordered by Russia's President Vladimir Putin in response to perceived threats from the West. Moving on, U.S. President Joe Biden spoke to Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and reaffirmed his commitment to Israel's security against all threats. The White House on Thursday said the leaders discussed new U.S. military deployments to support Israel against threats such as missiles and drones.
I'm very concerned about it. I had a very direct meeting with Prime Minister today, and very direct. We have the basis for a ceasefire. He should move on it, and they should move on it now.
Meanwhile, responding to a question on the death of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh, Biden said his assassination has not helped the ceasefire talks. There's been an increased risk of an escalation into a broader West Asia crisis after Haniyeh's assassination in Iran drew threats of retaliation against Israel. Meanwhile, Iranian officials and their regional allies from Lebanon, Iraq and Yemen held a meeting on Thursday after the killing of the Hamas leader in Tehran. Tehran is at risk of a widened conflict between Israel, Iran and its proxies after Haniyeh's assassination. Israel's National Security Council warned Israelis to exercise extra caution while traveling abroad. It said that Iran or its allies, the Hamas or Hezbollah, could target Israeli or Jewish institutions outside the country. The Hezbollah fired dozens of rockets towards Israeli territory late on Thursday. A top Hezbollah commander was killed in an Israeli airstrike in Lebanon's capital days after Israel accused Hezbollah of attacking the Golan Heights. Israel's military said there was no damage or casualty. It said that only 5 of the barrage of rockets could enter Israel. The rest were intercepted. In response, Israel struck a Hezbollah rocket launcher in southern Lebanon's Yater, which was being used to fire a barrage at the western Galilee. Amid West Asia tensions, Air India suspended its flights to and from Tel Aviv in Israel with immediate effect. The airline said it was suspending flight operations up to the 8th of August and is monitoring the situation on an ongoing basis. Air India extended support to passengers with confirmed bookings for travel to and from Tel Aviv during this period with a one-time waiver on rescheduling and cancellation charges. Germany officially joined the US-led United Nations Command in South Korea on Friday, joining a group of nations that police the border separating the South Koreans from the North. The force will defend the South's border in the event of a conflict with the North. Germany is the 18th country to join the command and the first since Italy was reinstated in 2013. Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius said the move is a clear sign of Berlin's commitment to peace and security in the Indo-Pacific. Former U.S. President Donald Trump declared that the selection of U.S. lawmaker J.D. Vance as his running mate will not have any impact on the 2024 White House race. Trump made the comments during a combative interview at the annual convention of the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago. Trump's remarks sparked discussions among political analysts and commentators alike. And still to come on DD India Live. As political unrest continues in Venezuela, more world leaders call on the country to release detailed voting tallies. And 3 states in Nigeria impose a curfew after anti-government protests turn violent.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. As political unrest continues in Venezuela, more world leaders have called on the country to release detailed voting tallies. The presidents of Brazil, Mexico and Colombia called for Venezuela to release the tally details on Thursday as the dispute over presidential election results sparked protests. The presidents of Brazil, Colombia and Mexico have adopted a more neutral stance on the election.
Esta tarde los presidentes de Colombia,
Presidents of Colombia, Brazil and Mexico, along with their foreign ministers, discussed the past presidential elections in Venezuela. The leaders got together to keep on working on options that give the international accompaniment the Venezuelan people need right now, always respecting their sovereignty, and that allows for a definitive solution for the current controversies. Colombian President Gustavo Petro also talked with the Chilean President Gabriel Boric, who agreed on what Colombia, Brazil and Mexico said in their statement. From Colombia, we'll stay attentive and ready to offer our good services in favor of political peace and democracy in the region.
Meanwhile, the United States on Thursday announced that it was recognizing opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez as the winner of Venezuela's presidential election. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said Gonzalez won the most votes in Venezuela's 28th July presidential election. Venezuela's electoral authority had declared President Nicolas Maduro as the winner of the election, a result that's been derided as implausible by the opposition, independent pollsters and some foreign governments. Recent protests in Nigeria have claimed at least 3 lives. Police has been mobilized across the country in case of any untoward incident. The military has also been put on alert to support the police if and when needed. Although the protests were relatively calm on Friday at many places, including the capital city of Abuja, Kano and others, Nigerians have been protesting against the policy reforms and governance of President Bola Tinubu. Kano, among the most populous in Nigeria, imposed a 24-hour curfew, while 3 other states also imposed curfews in some areas. In Uganda's capital, Kampala, refugees from Sudan are turning to urban farming to improve food nutrition and self-sufficiency. The Smart Gardens, a project of a local charity that was started by fellow refugee, equips asylum seekers with seeds, tools and mentorship, enabling families to set up vegetable gardens. Uganda is struggling with nearly 1.6 million refugees. An additional 30,000 new arrivals from Sudan is straining its resources. Isabel Nakiria has more.
Ramia Rehma's backyard garden is now a rich source of nutrition in her household. Instead of grocery shopping, Ramia harvests fresh vegetables from her urban farm to feed her family of 4. The Sudanese refugee says this has enabled her to manage life in Kampala.
If you have a small place, at least you can provide something for your family, the small family. So we start doing in our homes with a small space, with basins, like this kind of thing. Even if you have a bottle, you can use it.
Ramia and hundreds of other refugees got skills training in urban farming from a local charity in Kampala. With limited space in the city, vertical farms like this are helping refugees become self-reliant. They are even able to plant crops grown in Sudan to enrich their diets. The organization supports them with seeds and fertilizers and helps them market their vegetables so they can earn additional income.
They are very interested because this is what they can do to make themselves busy, to get a meal, and some of them are extending it to the market. So we started, and we have very success stories, and we have demos in our centers.
Uganda's friendly refugee policy allocates land to each refugee for settlement and farming, instead of just relying on food rations from the aid agencies. But refugees who choose to come to urban areas like Ramia have to fend for themselves.
New life, new environment, new culture, it is a lot. Even how to manage this life itself, it is one of the challenges we go through. The kind of lower income, to find some addition for your income, it is somehow also challenges. Education, health, a lot of things.
Nearly 30,000 refugees from Sudan have arrived in Uganda since the conflict broke out over a year ago. Ramia hopes peace can one time return to Sudan so that they can go back to their normal lives. Isabel Nakiria in Kampala, reporting for DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended a conference of governors on Friday. Taking to social media platform X, the Prime Minister said it was an important forum which discussed about how governors could foster development and serve society. Now, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the 32nd International Conference of Agricultural Economists to be held in New Delhi on the 3rd of August. The event will focus on sustainable agri-food systems and India's advancements in agriculture. The triennial conference will be held from the 2nd to the 7th of August. The conference is being held in India after 65 years. The theme for this year's conference is Transformation Towards Sustainable Agri-Food Systems. The event aims to tackle a pressing need for sustainable agriculture in the face of global challenges. The conference will highlight India's proactive approach to global agricultural challenges. The conference will serve as a platform for researchers and professionals to present their work and network with global peers. It aims to strengthen partnerships between research institutes and universities. And the conference will witness the participation of 1,000 delegates from around 75 countries. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar delivered the 7th Jasjit Singh Memorial Lecture at the Center for Air Power Studies, or the CAPS, in New Delhi on Friday. Addressing an August gathering there, the minister said multipolarity is still in its early stages as it's unevenly developed and is imperfectly evolved.
Multipolarity is still in its early stages. It is unevenly developed and it's imperfectly evolved. Grasping its intricacies is therefore itself an enormous challenge. At times, we could overestimate it. On other occasions, it could actually disappoint. Part of the problem is that depending on the metric used, a different set of prominent players emerge in calculations. Military multipolarity, for example, is currently very different from the economic one, or indeed from those of technology, energy, of resources, or other currencies of power.
India's President Draupadi Murmu is scheduled to visit Fiji, New Zealand and Timor-Leste from 5th to 10th of August, which will significantly advance India's diplomatic efforts in the Indo-Pacific. During her visit, she will hold bilateral meetings with the heads of state from all three nations and will address the Indian community.
Rashtrapati ji will be first going to Fiji and then to New Zealand and then to Timor-Leste. With both Fiji and Timor-Leste, this would be the first ever visit by the President of India. Therefore, it has special significance. Ever since Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi enunciated his Act East policy, the region, Southeast Asia and the Pacific, has been a very special focus for us. So all these three countries fall within our Act East policy. With New Zealand also, we have a very old and strong partnership that we carry forward in our relations with the Pacific Island countries. Timor-Leste itself has been accepted as a member of ASEAN. It will become the 11th member of ASEAN after it has completed its accession processes.
Relief and rescue operations are being carried on a massive scale in the southern Indian state of Kerala. A C-130J Super Hercules aircraft of the Indian Air Force with a specialized drone and a team was sent to Kozhikode. This drone will further be sent to Wayanad to assist in rescue operations. The official records put the death toll at more than 300. The numbers could go up. Rescue teams are working tirelessly under challenging conditions to look for survivors. India's weather agency has predicted heavy downpour in Wayanad and several other districts in the upcoming week. According to a data released by the National Payments Corporation of India, UPI-based transactions reached a record high for the month of July. They've recorded a surge of 35% year-on-year. The total month-on-month based transaction grew by 4%, amounting to 14.44 billion in July. The average daily transaction volume stood at 466 million. And now take a look at what else is making news in India. On the occasion of Sawan Shivratri, devotees took a holy dip in the Saryu in Uttar Pradesh's Ayodhya. Pilgrims also visited Lord Shiva temples across the state, including Moradabad, Ayodhya, Prayagraj and Ghaziabad, and sought the blessings of the Lord. On the occasion, the police authorities have also checked on the facilities for the devotees. A record 7.28 crore income tax returns were filed by the 31st of July deadline for the assessment year 24-25 as compared to 6.77 crore returns filed last year. The filing of returns had peaked when more than 69.92 lakh returns were filed in a single day. And now to all the updates from the Paris Olympics. Indian archers Dheeraj Bommadevara and Ankita Bhakat beat Indonesia's Diananda Choirunisa and Arif Pangestu 5-1 to reach the quarterfinals of the archery mixed team event. The Indian duo won the third set and the round of 16 tie against Indonesia. It was a brilliant display by both the archers who dominated the match. They will take on a Spanish pair later in the day for a semi-final spot. Indian shooters Manu Bhaker and Isha Singh will eye another qualification. Here are some key events lined up for Friday. Indian shooter Manu Bhaker with compatriot Isha Singh compete in the women's 25-meter pistol shooting rapid qualification round. The Indian hockey team will be pitted against Australia in the men's Pool B match. The match begins at 4:45 p.m. India time, that is 11:15 GMT. India's Lakshya Sen will take on Taiwan's Cho Tien Chen in the badminton men's singles quarterfinal at 6:30 p.m. that is 1300 GMT. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India Live. You can get all the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code on the screen now to download it. And let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.